Hello, welcome to the Monday, July 26, 2021 edition of the SANS Internet Storm Center's Stormcast. My name is Johannes Ulrich and today I'm recording from Jacksonville, Florida. Well, the last couple of weeks we had Print Nightmare, we had Summer of Sam, and last thing you probably need at this point is another serious Windows vulnerability. Well, I have bad news for you. Late on Friday, a new tool was released, PetitPotam. I think that's how it is pronounced. Sorry if I got this wrong. And this tool uses one original vulnerability, but then also chains a number of other issues with Windows in order to gain full access to a domain controller. At the core of all of this is NTLM relay. NTLM relay attacks are well known and have been used for a while. The trick here is that an attacker has a machine in the middle position and is able to intercept credentials being sent. And as the name implies, the attacker is relaying the credentials and in doing so impersonating the users whose session has been intercepted. Now, while there are plenty of tools to actually conduct this attack, the problem has been, how do I get the victim to actually initiate the connection? And the new weakness being exploited here is that it's possible to trigger such a request using Microsoft's encrypted file system remote protocol. And to make things worse, no authentication is required to trigger the request. And an attacker is able to trigger a request to an Active Directory certificate services, and these requests are sent over HTTP, and they may use NTLM for authentication, making them ideal for relay attacks. So an attacker is able to use the victim here to authenticate certificate signing requests, and the attacker is ending up with the certificate that's being returned by the certificate services. And now the attacker is able to use the certificate to obtain a Kerberos ticket, granting ticket. If the attacker was able to play this game with a domain controller and now ends up with a machine account of the domain controller, the attacker just gained access to the domain controller. So it's not straightforward, but then again, there are great tools to assist attackers with these operations. And Boyan wrote a great diary on Saturday summarizing everything that's needed in order to conduct the attack. What you probably really wonder is, how do I defend against this? Well, luckily, Microsoft was pretty quick in coming up with an advisory regarding this problem. The main thing that you probably should do is, well, don't use NTLM for authentication. So in particular on your Active Directory certificate services, if you are using this, and many enterprises are using this, make sure that IIS is not allowing authentication via NTLM, and that way you prevent the attack. However, in some ways, the real problem here is this new issue that any attacker without authentication is able to trigger a request, and that could be exploited for other ways to perform NTLM relay attacks. So this is really sort of just the worst case scenario in some way, how this particular vulnerability could be exploited. As far as which versions of Windows are vulnerable here, well, Microsoft lists pretty much all the Windows Server versions going back to 2008. And if you haven't done so already, this is also a great opportunity to consider turning off NTLM across your domain again. Now, that isn't always as easy as it should be, but NTLM really shouldn't be used anymore, and this is yet another reason why you probably want to get rid of it. But again, this is still a developing story, so watch out for updates, watch out for updates from Microsoft as well. And developers using Macs, be aware there is a new version of the xccset malware. It was first found about a year ago, and it targets developers by propagating in malicious xcode project files. So once a developer is opening a file or trying to compile it, the malicious code will execute. In this case, it's going after credentials in Google Chrome and Telegram. Certainly, again, one of those supply chain angles where someone may want to get access to developers' accounts. And VidMe.com, a domain that was briefly trying to compete with YouTube for video hosting, apparently after it was shut down in 2017, got purchased by an adult video site. And many normal websites are now including these new videos from VidMe that the new owner placed on the domain, but apparently many existing sites are still including content from these old, no longer functioning URLs. A good reason why you probably don't want to necessarily include third-party content in your sites. And if you do, you of course have to regularly review it. Well, and that's it for today. Thanks again for listening, and talk to you again tomorrow.